You are most welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Real Impartation Moment on Tuesday Night Anatomy with Daniel Okwan. Today's section, we are still in the region of the thorax, and an important aspect which we have to deal with is what we call the mediastinum. Erroneously, I should say, yes, in most books is defined as that area which is sandwiched between the two pleural cavities. I'm saying it's wrong for the reason that, yes, in the pleural cavity, we don't have any organ dwelling over there. And this mediastinum has, a lot of organs which we are going to look at today. The only thing which is found between or within this pleural cavity will be that kind of pleural fluid, which will run in there. So my friends, at the end of this class, we should be able to clearly define what this mediastinum is, look at, the distinctions by way of what we call the superior mediastinum and of course the inferior mediastinum, which will further be divided into what we call anterior, middle, and posterior mediastinal areas. So to begin with, what I want to tell you is that whenever we say mediastinum, it's a Latin word which literally means midway. Now, midway between what? Now, if you look at this model I have over here, now the key thing is that you should appreciate what you call the lungs. So we have what we call that of the right and the left lungs. These lungs will be enclosed in what we call the pleura. I've told you that the serous membrane which we are associated with the lung will be the pleura. So they will be enclosed in there. So whenever we talk about the mediastinum, it is that region of the thorax, which is the midway between the lungs enclosed in the pleura and the pleura. That is what I want you to know. And that is this area we are going to deal with. Now, having looked at that, that is what we call the mediastinum that we are talking about. Having looked at this, then the next thing is that this mediastinum, I want you to know about that, is divided into two. So we have two areas regarding this mediastinum we are talking about. We have two areas. We have the one above, which we call a superior mediastinum, and then we also have that of the inferior mediastinum. Yes. Now, this distinction by way of having the superior and then the middle mediastinal areas is by way of an imaginary line which you draw, going through what we call the mandibulosternal joint, and we know that this mandibulosternal joint is related to an angle, which you call the angle of Louis. So this imaginary line is going from anterior to posterior or either way, from here and then going posterior. Now, the posterior extent of this imaginary line reaches the lower border of T4 vertebra, the fourth thoracic vertebra. That's where it reaches. But you realize that anteriorly, this joint, which we can see over here, which is between the mandibulosterni and of course the body of the sternum, is at what is something we call the mandibulosternal joint. There's a joint over here we call it mandibulosternal joint, which is related to the angle of Louis. And I've told you that this angle of Louis is approximately 163 degrees. Now I realize that anteriorly, this angle of Louis or the mandibulosternal joint we're talking about is related to the second rib and of course the second costal cartilage. That is what we see over here. So we go in this manner. So that what happens is that that region, that midway, between the two lungs enclosed by the pleura, which is above this imaginary line, will be called the superior mediastinum, and that below will be called inferior mediastinum. For this reason, another important thing which you have to know will be the boundaries. What delimits this mediastinal area that we are talking about? What are the boundaries of this mediastinum? Now, for us to appreciate that, we have to first look at the superior extent of this mediastinum. What is the superior boundary of this mediastinum we are talking about. My friends, the superior boundary of this mediastinum, yes, as you can see, if I turn this one this way, now this is the neck. Okay, as I go this way, I'm going to the thoracic region. Now, what happens is that there will be some structures from the neck region going to the thoracic region, or vice versa. Okay, to traverse this, what happens is that there's an aperture over here, which I've told you that in the living it will be enclosed by the substance fascia or the suprapleural, membrane. So this area that we are talking about, okay, which serves as the transition point when I want to move from the neck to the thoracic region or vice versa, is something we call the superior thoracic aperture. Superior thoracic aperture, something we also call the thoracic inlet anatomically. But yes, surgeons will call it thoracic outlets rather. Okay, that is what we find over here. And so superiorly, okay, the superior boundary of this mediastinum we are talking about will be by what we call the superior thoracic aperture. And my friends, what bones or what cartilage, what structures, okay, give us the margin or the boundary of the superior thoracic aperture we are talking about? We are talking about nothing but, of course, the superior. Now, the bone over here is the mandible. The superior aspect of this mandible, okay, is at the anterior aspect. Then when I go laterally, I look at the first rib together with its costal cartilage on the anterolateral aspect. So that the posterior aspect, I will find what we call the T1 vertebra, the first thoracic vertebra, okay, at the posterior aspect. So that, gives us, the extent of the superior thoracic aperture, or this thoracic inlet we're talking about anatomically. Yes. So having seen what we call this, the superior extent, then how about the inferior extent? Now, whenever you talk about the inferior extent, now because this mediastinum is in the thoracic region, and on either side we have the two lungs over there, then whenever we talk about the inferior extent, my friends, we are talking about nothing but, of course, the superior aspect of the diaphragm. The superior aspect of the diaphragm. That's what we are talking about. Okay? Now, having looked at that, then the next thing, I will come to this again. We've seen the anterior, we've seen the superior, we've seen that of the inferior. Now, how about the anterior, boundary of this mediastinum? Mainly, when we talk about the anterior boundary of this mediastinum, yes, is by way of the sternum. And whenever we talk about the sternum, yes, its mandible, its body, its xiphoid process, yes, will be inclusive in here. Yes, mainly anteriorly. And then when we go to the posterior extent, we are talking about all these thoracic vertebrae, T1 to T12, all the thoracic vertebrae. That's what we're talking about. Then, my friends, how about the lateral aspect? The lateral aspect. Now, to help understand the lateral aspect, remember that we said that this region is sandwiched between the two lungs. And already we've discussed that the parietal pleura will have lungs. So look at it. This is the area. This is where the mediastinum is. Now the lungs will be here. They will be covered, okay, or enclosed in what we call the pleura. For this reason, the medial aspect, okay, will be by what we call the mediastinal pleura. Yes, we've discussed these things already. Great. So that is one thing that I want you to become aware of regarding the boundaries of this mediastinum we are talking about. So now, let's focus our attention looking at these two main regions of the mediastinal area. Now, we said we have superior mediastinum, which is that region which is found above the transverse thoracic plane. That imaginary line moving from, yes, at the level of the sternal angle or the mandibular-sternal joint, going posteriorly to the lower border of T4 vertebra. That is why we also say T4, T5 vertebral level. Okay, that is one thing I want you to know. So what will be the boundaries of this superior mediastinum we are talking about? Yes, it makes sense that the superior aspect will be by what? Yes, by the superior thoracic aperture. As simple as that, we've discussed it. How about the inferior? The imaginary line, okay, which will be running, okay, anterior posterior from the sternal angle of Louis all the way till the lower border of T4 vertebra. That will be the inferior extent, the imaginary line over there. Now, how about the anterior aspect? The anterior aspect, yes, mainly is by the what? by what we call the mandibular sterni or the mandible. Okay, that's what we see. Now, how about the posterior aspect? Remember, I told you that this imaginary line is going till the level of the lower border of T4. That's T4, T5 vertebral level. And that is why posteriorly it will be related to, of course, the T1 all the way to T4 vertebral level. Okay, that will be, and of course, medially, we've mentioned it already, and that is your, of course, your mediastinal pleura. Mediastinal pleura, that's what we see. Now, the next important thing, now, today's class, there's another thing which I will deal with, okay, that is looking at the structures which are traversed by what we call the transverse thoracic plane. That will be another meeting altogether, but today I want to look at the contents. So what will be inside this superior mediastinum? What will be the content of the superior mediastinum? And we want to put some down. Now the first thing, these content, one thing I want you to become aware, broadly, think about two main tubes. One of them is giving us food, is allowing food to traverse through. The other is giving us air, allowing air to pass through. Yes, we know about the food pipe by way of the esophagus, and we know about the windpipe by way of the trachea. They are the two main tubes I want you to become aware. So in the superior mediastinum, okay, which is above over here, you will see that now there's the trachea. So it will be in this superior mediastinum, and then the esophagus coming from upwards. Okay, so the first two tubes, one will be a pipe for food. And then, of course, that is your esophagus. Yes, there's another one, which is, of course, allowing air. That is by way of the trachea. Yes, we are not done with that. We are not done. And then, of course, there will be 4 arteries. I want you to know about that. There will be 4 arteries. And which arteries are we talking about? Now, the main artery I want you to become aware in the superior mediastinum, which also gives off something we call the BCS branches. BCS branches. And who are those guys? I'm talking about the aorta, but precisely which portion of the aorta will be in the superior mediastinum. Now the aorta begins this way, then it arches, then it goes downwards as descend the aorta. So I'm talking about the arch of the aorta. That's the one which goes inside what we call the superior mediastinum. So I'm talking about the arch of aorta, and not only that, the 3 main branches which will be coming from the arch of aorta. If there are no anatomic variations, we are talking about the BCS branches. And the B, we are talking about the brachiocephalic trunk. We are talking about the left common carotid artery. We are talking about the left subclavian artery. Okay, these are the 4 arteries I'm talking about. My friends, we are not done. We also talk about 5 veins. 5 veins are also content of this superior mediastinum. The 5 veins. Now, who are these 5 veins? The first one, yes, we talked about the arch of aorta over here. Now, we also have to talk about, of course, this superior vena cava, mainly superior vena cava. Remember, superior, so it's in the superior mediastinum. So we are talking about the superior vena cava, or the proximal distal bit of the superior vena cava. We are not done. So we have to think about the formative tributaries of the superior vena cava too. Okay, what are the formative tributaries of the superior vena cava? So yes, I have the superior vena cava over here. And what are the formative tributaries of the superior vena cava also contributing to this one we are talking about? So we are talking about the right brachiocephalic trunk, brachiocephalic vein, and of course the left brachiocephalic vein. Yes, these are. So I'm talking about left and right brachiocephalic veins. Okay, so that is what we see. Left and right brachiocephalic veins. Now I mentioned that we have 5 veins. We've seen superior vena cava, left and right brachiocephalic veins. So already I'm having 3. Then how about the 4th one? Now my friends, it is not only the aorta which has an arch. My friends, although this vein largely will be running in the posterior mediastinum, which I'll be coming to, yes, its terminal portion by way of draining into the superior vena cava, yes, will arch. Okay, it will contribute to, of course, the tributary by its own formative tributary, and then it will arch at the level of the T4 vertebral level, and that's why it belongs to the superior mediastinum. My friend, that guy is the arch of azygos vein. So arch of azygos. Arch of azygos vein, okay, is also part of it. And how about the last one, the last vein, so that I get 5 veins in the superior mediastinum? My friends, the last vein we are talking about, it is a tributary of what we call the left brachiocephalic vein. The left. Now remember that the left brachiocephalic vein is longer. Yes, it's more oblique, it's longer. Okay, or it's more horizontal compared to that of the right. The right, that's where superior vena cava is, so it goes down straight. But this one is oblique and it's longer. And that is why there's another vein, which we call it left superior intercostal vein. So I'm talking about the left superior intercostal vein. Left superior intercostal vein is also a content of what we call the superior mediastinum. So we've seen the veins too, that there are 5 veins. We've dealt with that one. Now how about the nerves? So we have nerves also, about 4 nerves which I want you to know. Now the first thing I want you to know is that we will first have what we call the phrenic nerves. Phrenic. Now remember that the phrenic nerves, yes, the root value is C3, C4, C5. Ventral rami of C3, C4, C5. From the neck region, cervical. Then it has to come downwards. And then they go and give motor supply to the diaphragm. Okay? So what it means is that the phrenic nerve will have to traverse the superior mediastinum and then go downwards, go to what we call the middle mediastinum. Okay? And then go and supply this diaphragm we are talking about eventually. So we are talking about the phrenic nerve. Which phrenic nerves? I'm talking about the left and right phrenic nerves. Yes, that's one point. Is that all? No? The vagus nerves. The vagus nerves. Yes, also that one too, we put it down. The left and right. Mainly that of the left. Vagus nerves. Now remember that the vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve. That's the 10th cranial nerve. The longest cranial nerve we have in the human body. Yes. And being the longest cranial nerve is the most wandering. It goes everywhere. Okay? Even in males, it ends at the level of the testes. So it wanders around everywhere. So this guy, okay, you are talking about the vagus nerve. It is also a content of the superior mediastinum. Now the next thing that we have to also become aware is that we have another nerve. And my friends, this nerve is a branch actually comes from the left vagus nerve. So that's why I told you that mainly the left vagus nerve we are talking about. The reason is that of the right vagus nerve, it just winds around what we call that of the right, okay, subclavian artery. So it doesn't really go down so much. But that of the left winds around, okay, the arch of aorta. That's why it becomes a major component of the superior mediastinum. And also, one of 8 branches which goes backwards, running in something we call the tracheoesophageal groove. And that guy is something we call the left recurrent laryngeal nerve. So it is worth mentioning the left recurrent laryngeal nerve. Okay, I want you to appreciate that one also. Now, I read that. No, we are not done. These are the nerves we dealt with. Now, one thing too that I want you to know is that there are some two muscles, yes, they take attachment, okay, on this mandible of the sternum, okay, the posterior aspect of the mandible, they take attachment over there. One of those muscles is what we call the stenothyroid. Now, the thyroid cartilage, okay, there's this kind of line which we call oblique line, okay, it attaches over there. So, steno, mandibular sternum to the thyroid cartilage. And then also from the hyoid bone, we are talking about the stenohyoid. So I'm talking about sternothyroid, okay, sternothyroid, and sternocleidomastoid muscles. We are talking about these guys. Yes. Okay. Now, are we done? No. We are not done. The point is that at the level where this trachea, we said the trachea is in the superior mediastinum, will be bifurcating, giving us the left and right main bronchi. Okay, giving us the left and right main bronchi, we find what we call some lymph nodes over here. And one comes before the trachea, pretracheal, on either side of the trachea, paratracheal, and then also at the junction over here between of course the trachea and then the bronchi, tracheobronchial lymph nodes, they are also in there. Okay, so I'm talking about what we call the lymph nodes, and nothing. I'm talking about the tracheobronchial. I'm talking about the pretracheal, paratracheal, and tracheobronchial lymph nodes. Okay, that is what we are talking about. But are we done? No. Especially in children, we have what we call the thymus. Well, as we age, becomes fibrotic, so the remains of the thyroid gland, the thymus, that's what I'm talking about, the thymus. Okay, the superior portion of the thymus will be found also in this superior mediastinum. Yes. So my friends, these are the major things I want you to become aware regarding the contents of the superior mediastinum. Now, have you seen this? Let's look at that of the inferior mediastinum. That of the inferior mediastinum, the only thing we're going to separate this inferior mediastinum from the superior mediastinum is that imaginary line which is going to traverses the thoracic region at the level anteriorly, the mandibular sternal joint, posteriorly at the lower border of T4 vertebra. Now, the point here is that of the inferior mediastinum is further divided. The inferior mediastinum is further divided. It's having some kind of divisions. Okay, to be having some divisions. Okay, now the reference point is with the heart and its pericardium. The reference point is the heart and its pericardium. Okay, that's one thing I want you to become aware of. So that what happens is that if you come in front or anterior to the pericardium, inferior, that's what we're talking about, then you become anterior mediastinum. If you are with the heart and the pericardium itself, in the middle mediastinum, and if you are behind or posterior to this pericardium at the posterior aspect, you become posterior mediastinum. So they are the divisions of the inferior mediastinum. And so we are going to have anterior portion. We have what we call the middle portion, and then we also have that of the posterior mediastinum. Yes. And so what are these major points that we have to understand? So if you are an anterior mediastinum, then of course anteriorly, what are you talking about? What will be your boundary anteriorly? Not the mandible of the sternum, this time around the body of the sternum together with the xiphoid process. And then posterior, what is going to happen? The anterior aspect of the thyroid pericardium will be anterior. Be the posterior boundary. Okay, because the heart will be in there and then anterior aspect of this heart, okay, covered by what we call the fibrous pericardium, is going to separate it. You understand what we are saying? Yes. Of course, superiorly, transverse thoracic plane will be running over there. Inferiorly, of course, we are talking about the diaphragm. Yes, these are the things. And then, of course, on either side, laterally, we are talking about the mediastinal pleura. These are the things we're talking about. Okay, so for this reason, what are the contents? Yes, we are interested in the major content of this, anterior mediastinum. And so to talk about the contents over here, the first thing I want you to understand is that, yeah, the thymus, it doesn't end in the superior mediastinum. Also, we find it in the anterior mediastinum, it goes downwards over there. So even the thymus or its remains will be there. And then there's also this kind of ligament which attaches, the body of the sternum, usually about 2 of these ligaments, to what we call the anterior aspect of this fibrous pericardium. Something we call sternopericardial ligament. Sternopericardial ligament. Sternopericardial ligament. Are we done? No. We are not done. Now, in the anterior mediastinum, okay, we see this vessel over there. And my friends, this vessel is something we call internal thoracic vessels. So we are talking about the artery and the vein. So internal thoracic vessels together with something we may call the mediastinal branches. Okay, so we call it internal thoracic or internal mammary vessels. Okay, will also be in, of course, this anterior mediastinum. Okay, these are the major things which I want you to become aware in the anterior mediastinum. Now, having seen this, now how about the middle mediastinum? Now, there are a lot of things going on here in this middle mediastinum that we are talking about. Okay, and one thing that we don't want to forget is that in the middle mediastinum we have the heart together with its pericardium. So we talk about the heart and its pericardium. Okay. Now, when we talk about the heart, there are some great vessels, or there are some vessels, okay, which either empty their content or they drain the heart of blood. And what are these vessels we are talking about? My friends, you will see that in the anterior mediastinum, we will have what we call the ascending aorta. It will begin over there. Okay, the pulmonary trunk. Okay, we talk about this terminal portion of the superior vena cava, that of the inferior vena cava. We talk about, of course, the phrenic nerves which will be running around here. And one thing I told you, there's this guy or these vessels which always run with the phrenic nerves. Whenever they are going, they run with them. Pericardiacophrenic vessels, if you remember these things. So let's put some points down. Okay, so we said we are going to have the ascending aorta. Remember that the arch of aorta was in the superior mediastinum. Ascending aorta. Okay, and then not only that, we talk about that of the pulmonary trunk. Now, if I talk about ascending aorta, then it makes sense that we talk about, talking about the coronary, arteries. They'll also be there, or they will be the first branches which will be coming from the aorta by way of the ascending aorta. Yes, not only that, we mentioned that of the superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. Now, not only that, we mentioned that of the phrenic nerves, okay? So we mentioned that of the phrenic nerves, left and right phrenic nerves. And then whenever phrenic nerves are running, we have that of the pericardiacum or pericardiophrenic. Pericardiophrenic vessels. Okay? Yes, we talk about these things. Now, yes, if I mention pulmonary trunk, yes, even some of the artery. So pulmonary trunk or its arteries, okay, some portions will be there. Then also the pulmonary veins, the 4 pulmonary veins. will also be in there. Okay, it's a busy area, the middle mediastinum, but you don't end there. Now, I told you about the lymph nodes. Okay, especially we'll be talking about the tracheobronchial lymph node, will also be in there. So we can add this tracheobronchial lymph node to the superior mediastinum, also to the middle mediastinum. Now, whenever I see this, now this is what we call the descending thoracic aorta, where it's in the posterior, it's going backwards. The esophagus also going backwards. Now remember also that I didn't put in vagus nerve over here because vagus nerve will be related to the esophagus, so it will go backwards. Okay, and then one thing that we will find is that is this guy, the divisions, okay, of what we call the trachea. The divisions of the trachea, we are talking about the bronchi, the main bronchi, also in there. So we are talking about the principal bronchi. Okay, will be in here. Okay, now one other thing to which I want to also tell you in the superior mediastinum, which, yes, because at the end of the day is the largest lymphatic duct that we have, okay, which we call thoracic duct. Yes, it begins at the level of the cisterna chyli, okay, at the L1 vertebral level, then it ascends upwards, it goes in the posterior aspect, so we put it as a content of the posterior mediastinum. But this one will also go upwards, eventually drain into what we call the right subclavian vein. Okay, so it means that I want you to also know that as part of the superior mediastinum, you can also put down the thoracic duct. Okay, thoracic duct. I want you to know that. Now, how about that of the posterior mediastinum? Yes, I've mentioned one to you already. I'm talking about the thoracic duct. Now, usually there's a mnemonic for it, like something like dates. Okay, so if I mention thoracic duct, okay, we have what we call descending thoracic aorta. Descending thoracic aorta is also in there, together with, of course, 8 branches. I told you about giving off a lot of these. For instance, posterior intercostal arteries, okay, will be coming from it. Okay, like some bronchial artery, okay, the left bronchial arteries, for instance, will also be in there. Then it's not only that, yes, mainly the azygos vein. So azygos, yes, also hemiazygos veins will also be in there. Okay. Yes, I've mentioned thoracic duct already. And then also esophagus, as I told you, the esophagus will be running backwards over there. So the esophagus. Okay, now the S, now the sympathetic trunk or chain will eventually give us what we call the splanchnic nerves. Yes, there are these kind of thoracic, greater splanchnic, lesser splanchnic, least splanchnic nerves. So let me say sympathetic trunk or ganglion or ganglia, or let me make it chain, and then let me also put down splanchnic nerves. Now, over here also in the posterior, we'll be talking about that of the anterior and posterior vagal trunks. This time I'm talking about trunks, anterior and posterior vagal trunks. Now, also in the middle, there's one thing that, yes, that came to mind. That is what we call the deep cardiac plexus. The deep cardiac plexus, which contribution will be coming from the superior, middle, and inferior sympathetic ganglia, okay, together with all some of these sympathetic nerves, and then also coming from this vagus, trunk, okay, will give rise to this deep cardiac plexus. So what I'm trying to say is that this anterior and posterior vagal trunk, the right one will go posterior, and the left one will go anterior, okay, to the esophagus, and they become the trunks that we're talking about over here. Okay, so I want you to appreciate, this one that we have by here. My friends, today's meeting was mainly just to try and then give you the content of the superior, the anterior, of course, the middle and then the posterior. Don't forget that the middle mediastinum, yes, is that region where the heart is together with its pericardium. Okay? And then when I go behind the fibrous pericardium of the middle mediastinum, you are going to the posterior mediastinum. Okay, so these are the things which I want you to appreciate. I'm very grateful for your time this evening. Have a good night, all of you, and may the good Lord richly bless you. Amen.